At first, it's confusion, a message left unread, a plan that never happened. You replay what you said, what you didn't say, hoping it's a misunderstanding, but the silence gets louder, and that's when it starts to hurt. Rejection isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, passive, a slow vanishing act. But even silence carries weight, and it can crush just as much as words ever could. You wonder what you did wrong. You pick apart every detail, hoping the answer will bring peace. But sometimes, there's no why that makes it easier. Sometimes, the answer is, they simply chose not to stay. When they disappear, it doesn't just sting, it questions your worth. But their choice is not your mirror. It reflects their capacity, not your value. You deserve answers. You deserve closure. But not everyone will give it. That doesn't mean you're not worthy of it. It means they weren't capable of offering it with care. What they left behind wasn't emptiness. It was space. And in that space, something new can begin. Not with them, with you. Rejection isn't always the end. Sometimes, it's the beginning of real self-repair. When you're ghosted, it feels personal. But often, it's not about you at all. It's about their inability to hold space, to communicate, to face themselves. Don't wear their absence like it's your failure. The silence tempts you to reach out, just one more time. Maybe if you say the right thing, they'll explain. But begging for clarity from someone who gave you confusion only deepens the wound. You can miss someone and still be glad they're gone. You can wish it had gone differently and still choose yourself. These feelings can coexist. None of them make you weak. There's grief in what could have been, in potential that never bloomed. But you are not incomplete without them. You are still whole, still worthy, still growing. It's okay to be angry, to feel abandoned, to feel ridiculous for believing. But you weren't foolish, you were open. And that's never something to regret. Vulnerability is not a mistake. It's courage most people aren't ready for. Sometimes, closure comes not from answers, but from release. You let go not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. You stop the spiral. You choose your peace. They may have left without a word, but your story doesn't end there. One chapter closing doesn't mean the whole book is over. You are still writing, and this time, you hold the pen. The hardest part isn't losing them. It's losing the version of yourself you imagined with them. But that version was only one path, and there are countless others waiting, filled with love you haven't met yet. You are not the exception to love. You are not unworthy. You are not unchosen. Their silence is not a final verdict. It's a redirection to something real, something reciprocal, something safe. You've chased clarity long enough. Now you get to chase peace. You're allowed to move on without all the pieces. You're allowed to close the door without knowing what was behind it. You were never meant to shrink to be loved. The right connection won't confuse you or make you chase clarity. You don't have to fight to be seen. You were never invisible to yourself. The silence they left you with, you're learning to fill it with your voice, your joy, your new boundaries, and slowly, what once echoed with ache now echoes with clarity. Even rejection has its lessons. It strips away illusion. It shows you who is willing to stay and who is only there for the version of you they wanted. What's left is real, and that's enough. You are not fragile because you feel deeply. You're powerful because you keep loving, even after heartbreak. That resilience, that's your superpower. They may have left, but they didn't take your light. Rejection isn't always about who you are. Sometimes, it's about where they are in life and what they're too afraid to face. Don't internalize someone else's avoidance as a reflection of your worth. Being ghosted is an interruption, not an ending. The conversation they refuse to finish, you get to finish it with yourself, with truth, with a future that doesn't need their silence to validate your value. You don't need someone to choose you to be lovable. Your value isn't up for a vote. It exists outside of who stayed or who didn't. One day, you'll stop wondering what they're thinking, not because it doesn't matter, but because you filled your mind with thoughts that nourish you instead. You're not too much. You're not too needy. You were just too honest for someone who wasn't ready. That's not your shame. It's their unspoken truth. This pain won't last forever. One day, their silence will just be air, something you barely notice in a life filled with louder, better things like peace, laughter, and real love that stays. You thought they saw you, and maybe for a moment they did, but you see yourself now, clearly, fully, beautifully, and that vision, that's what truly matters. What you wanted was connection. What they offered was confusion. You don't have to settle for emotional crumbs. You were made for a full feast of honesty, clarity, and mutual care. You are not the silence they left behind. You're the echo of your own voice rising again. Each time you speak your truth, you reclaim what they tried to erase. If you've ever been ghosted, dropped, or left wondering, was it me? You're not alone. Share your story below. This space is for you, for all of us who chose healing over begging for answers. You didn't imagine the connection. You didn't invent the effort you gave. But when someone walks away from something real, it says more about their readiness than your reality. You were present. You were sincere. That matters. The worst part isn't always the goodbye. It's the disappearing act, the slow fade, the way they made you feel invisible without a word. But now you're done waiting. You deserve to be acknowledged, not erased. You will be loved in a way that doesn't make you question your place. You won't need to beg for clarity or wonder where you stand. That kind of love exists, and it's looking for someone like you. Sometimes the people we want aren't the ones we need. Their absence, though painful, makes room for peace. And slowly, the ache quiets. What grows in its place is something steadier yourself. They left without explanation, but you leave with dignity. You don't chase who's running. You step into your own path, one built on peace, not pursuit. You are not hard to love. You just haven't been met by someone soft enough to stay. Their discomfort with depth has nothing to do with the beauty of your waters. Every time you rebuild after disappointment, you become stronger. Not harder, stronger, softer in truth, clearer in boundaries, gentler with yourself. Rejection didn't ruin you, it refined you. You were ghosted, not broken, left, not lost. Their silence does not have the final word. You do. And every breath you take, without begging for their return, is a sentence of your own becoming. This pain means you were honest, that you showed up, that you hoped, and that takes courage. Not everyone can offer that, but you did, and that's not something to hide. It's something to be proud of. You gave what you had, and even though it wasn't returned, it wasn't wasted. Nothing real is ever wasted. It all returns in growth, in wisdom, in the people who are still to come. You're allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that waited by the phone, held your breath for texts, and questioned your worth in silence. You're stepping into someone more grounded, more whole, more yours. Some people leave without closure because they don't want to face what they broke. But you're brave enough to face it and to rebuild anyway. That's strength they'll never get to see. The relationship may have been short, the ending unclear, but the lessons, they'll last a lifetime. You learned how to honor your voice, how to protect your heart, and how to stay rooted in truth. Sometimes, we don't get the apology we deserved, but we get something better, a new standard, a vow to never accept less than respect, care, and presence again. Has this reminded you of someone you once waited for? Leave a comment if you've ever had to ghost-proof your heart. Let's make space for each other here, no explanations needed. Your softness is survival. It's what kept your heart beating through silence. What let you love without turning bitter. It's not weakness. It's proof you endured and stayed open. You've survived more than just ghosting. You've survived yourself on your worst days, on the nights you almost reached out. And that strength, quiet, invisible, but absolutely heroic. Not all who leave are villains. Some are just unfinished, still learning, still hiding. But you're not here to chase their healing. You're here to protect your peace. It's okay to still think about them. Healing isn't forgetting. It's remembering without reopening the wound. It's letting the memory sit beside you without steering your life. You were ghosted, but not erased. You're still here, still glowing, still growing, and worthy of the kind of love that shows up and never leaves you guessing. This wasn't your fault. Their silence didn't mean you were unlovable. It meant they weren't ready. But you were ready to care, to connect, to show up, and that says everything about you. You've stopped checking your phone, not because you've given up, but because you've outgrown the waiting. Their silence no longer echoes, it's just air now, and your peace is louder than any reply. You've become your own closure, your own apology, your own comfort. You gave yourself what they couldn't or wouldn't, and that's the kind of love that can never be ghosted. You're not looking back anymore. What's behind you is finished. What's ahead? That's where your light belongs. That's where the people who stay are waiting. No more waiting rooms. No more maybe. If I just. You've exited the cycle. You've stopped auditioning for love that can't hold a seat for you. You belong to yourself now. You are not an afterthought. You are not someone's backup plan. You are the beginning of something beautiful, not the leftover of someone's indecision. Ghosting may have hurt you, but it didn't harden you. You're still open, still hopeful, still capable of love that shows up fully. That's not naivety. That's grace. You are not the silence. You're the story that bloomed after it, made of truth, tenderness, and transformation. You didn't need them to finish your story. You just needed to begin a new one. This version of you, the one who survived rejection and still chooses softness, that version is powerful. That version is enough. That version is already becoming someone else would never dream of ghosting. If this episode reminded you of your strength, subscribe, share it. Let's build a space where silence doesn't win and where healing becomes louder than heartbreak. You're not healing alone. Not here. Not anymore.